because we're a bit late due to video problems, but as you can see, we got it fixed. Welcome to the development room. It's the 14th year I do this. I hope you will all enjoy this and enjoy the rest of FOSDEM. And no further ado, go ahead.
Okay, so I talked about the big toolchain for the STM8, which is a relatively new toolchain, so monthly tools have been there a long time ago. Now, let's see, this is the table of contents, and of course one important thing is STM8 hardware itself. Another essential piece of the toolchain is SDCC, the small device C compiler, the compiler targeting these microcontrollers. Other important parts around it are tools to bring our programs onto the hardware. STM8 Flash is the most important one at the moment. The ST-Link hardware is kind of a hardware dongle to allow in system programming. STM8 guide uses the integrated bootloader to get the program onto the STM8 via serial line. We also have support in OpenOCD to bring the program onto the hardware via STM8, the new debugger for debugging. And for those who prefer slightly higher level tools, there's a bit of support in IDEs. And also there's this LLVM plus SDCC experimental toolchain, which essentially combines elements, front-ends, and high-level optimizations with the low-level optimizations and back-ends of SDCC. Okay, so I start with the STM8 itself. Now the STM8 is a high-performance 8-bit core, so 8-bit means it's still small, but it's per clock quite a bit faster than many older ones, such as an 8051. Actually, even at 60 megahertz, the STM8 seems to easily beat the 100 megahertz 8051 typically that's a benchmark. It has a rather rich set of peripherals that are similar to the maybe known to some of you bigger STM32 controllers. These are STM32 are ARM-based STM32 controllers. The architecture is relatively C-friendly for such a microcontroller. In particular, we have a set called the relative addressing mode. The biggest devices have 6 kilobytes of RAM, 128 kilobytes of flash, 2 kilobytes of EEPROM. But there's also smaller ones with just 1.5 kilobytes of RAM, maybe 8 kilobytes of flash, and a few bytes actually no EEPROM. Those things, especially the small ones, are really cheap. So you can, even in normal distributors like Lichity, in large amounts, the smaller ones are 20 cents. If you really need a lot, you can probably get them in 10 cents easily. Billions have been made. Last time ST announced anything, it was I think 2016 that they have sold already 2 billion. They're not that big on advertising them anymore. I think they want people to move to the bigger STM32 devices. But there's a lot of them out there. There are a lot of places, from heating thermostats to vehicles. One relatively recent project, our toolchain is developing free firmware for e-bikes that have STM8 controllers in them. But there's a lot of them out there, which means we want free tools to be able to work with them. Okay, so probably the most important part of the toolchain is the compiler targeting the STM8. Now SDCC, it's a standard C compiler. It has reasonable support even for current C standards, not included GCC or LLVM, but typically better than non-free compilers for such small microcontrollers. We usually use it with freestanding implementation, but it also could be part of a hosted implementation. There's supporting tools like assembling and simulators within the project. It works with plenty of host systems. It targets a lot of other 8-bit architectures as well, like the aforementioned 8051, the classic Z80, certain variants of that. Maybe the freescale SCOH should be mentioned, and the microchip big, but those are still in development and up to the quality of the other backend. It has some unusual optimizations that are very suitable for these small targets that you won't find in GCC or LLVM. In particular in register allocation, because these all architectures tend to have a very irregular architecture. You're not like RISC where you have some instruction and you can use any register in it. No, Some instructions only on some registers, other instructions have different clock cycles or even code size depending on which register they use. This makes it a bit harder to do register allocation. You can't do this standard graph coloring IT stuff that GCC LLM will use. We have very interesting register allocation, based on graph structure theory. It can allocate registers optimally, given a certain bound on the number of tokens the programmer uses per function. And this is not a fast register allocator, it's actually quite slow, but it gives us good optimization for these small architectures. You can control the compilation speed code quality trade-off, so long compilation time for small binaries or the other way around. For the STM8, you can actually do register allocations byte-wise. So that means if you have a 32-bit variable, it might be that 16 bits of that variable are in a 16-bit register, another 8 bits have been split on the stack, and some other 8 bits have been allocated to the 8-bit register. So any byte of any register is considered a possible storage location, so we can actually use the registers in weird ways, not even the kind of designers of the architecture. Okay, so next question is how reliable is a compiler? You don't want compilers to have too many bugs. Now, SDCC does regression testing on 90 snapshots on various host architectures, on target architecture. It's about 10,000 tests. Many of them are from fixed bugs. Someone introduced these features, and a lot of them have been taken from the GCC regression tests. Okay, we used to have a bit more host systems. Our automatic compile farm, a few went down in the others have been people to maintain it for Solaris and FreeBSD and NetBSD used to be involved them, and we used to have two Spark machines in it. Maybe we can bring up a few machines again sometime. So now, how does Google compile to the non-stick compilers? When compared to non-stick compilers now, SDCC 370 is a release that's not out yet, but I hope it will come very, very soon, and I don't see big changes. So for 370, I just used our current development snapshot, and 350 was released from mid-2015. Okay. And Cosmic, Resonance, IRA are non-stick compilers. Resonance, I used also the latest version from 2015. It's hard to get a license for the emulation version. For Cosmic and IRA, I used the current version. You can see in Webstone, which is a floating point benchmark, they get a much faster code. SDCC improved a little bit by about 5 to 10% in those 2 years, but not much. But what usually matters on the small integer, on the small microcontrollers is integer performance. And here we have Webstone and Cormac in integer benchmark, and we see that SDCC in those from 350 to 370 went essentially from burst to base. In benchmark scores, and that means also integer performance, both for Webstone and for Cormac. So, thanks to both our register allocator stuff, a few other optimizations, and of course a huge leaking for things that matter in these benchmarks. I mean, Webstone depends a lot on performance and the standard library pre-processing functions, so optimization is really there, also contribution to better scores. Cormac depends heavily on integer multiplications, so the optimization is really there, contributed a lot to us being good there. Now, in code size, yes, we improved a bit since, so code size went down across all benchmarks, but we're still not at the level of resonance. Yeah? So resonance, they are really good at code size, and there's quite something to be done, but if you look at the big picture of how we compare to those compilers, SDCC in the current version is doing really better. Yeah? Code size is only remaining weakness, and only resonance is really doing better, which is not good at standard compliance or code speed or anything else. Now, SDCC is only big compiler that runs on a lot of operating systems. Cosmic actually runs on new Linux as well, but we're non-free. Yeah, now it's the fastest code, and the rest is standard compliance. No of the non-free compilers does even have ST11 mode. And the C99 modes, except for IAR, are also more incomplete than the one of SDCC. Okay, so much for the SDCC. Since we're talking about compilers, a few quick words about the LLVM plus STCC toolchain. Basically, the idea is we use the LLVM, C, front and backends. Now the backend is no longer officially part of LLVM, so it's a separate project. The output C code that is then into STCC, this allows us to use the language frontend for other languages than C and the high-level optimizations from LLVM. But this thing is quite experimental and there's plenty of issues remaining, both on the LLVM and the STCC side. I mean, the code output from this LLVM backend is a bit special, so STCC is not that optimized for it, so these things are not that efficient, but the LLVM C backend also has a few issues, in particular volatile handling. Okay, now STM8 left. The program to bring our programs onto the STM8 devices. Are you already holding it up or? Oh, okay. So they already saw the time up. Okay. So yeah, we're also inviting a flash key for option bytes that supports only known STM8 variants. And it uses the ST-Link, which is the official device, which I'll talk about a bit later. And now there's also some ESP ST-Link, so an ESP device with some free firmware on it that is supported by this one. STM8 Getting is kind of, for some purposes, an alternative. It uses an integrated bootloader that a lot of STM8 all devices have. It also allows writing a flash, so we can use it to bring the programs onto the device. One problem is that for some STM8s it needs an on-free block. So this bootloader has some communication code, but apparently not for all devices this bootloader is sufficient. In terms of what it does, so this non-free block, of course, one would want replaced by free software, but for some devices it's an alternative to STM8. Okay. Now let's look at the openness OCD and debugger side. Now there's patches to open OCD that have been merged recently and immediately OCD merged. At least I don't think we have even committed upstream for STM8 support and support for the ST-Link. And basically the debugger it only even allows on-target debugging, which is kind of a bad feature, but and still it does need this ST-Link, or the device by ST, that have the level that has non-free firmware. Okay, it feels like it works about support in IDEs. Now there's a bit of support in Eclipse and OpenOCD. For Eclipse, we have this Eclipse STCC plugin. It's from 2006. It definitely needs updating to work with current STCC well and with current Eclipse. Probably someone familiar with Java or Eclipse. Now, TI, since they also have their own fork of some Eclipse STCC based things, like 8051 actually has an updated version of the plugin. So one needs to look at that and see what can be merged upstream. Debugging support works in Eclipse without the plugin using the DDB OCD support that I on the previous slide. Okay, now code blocks has plugin that's for current STCC. I mean, the plugin was there for years. A few months ago, I looked at it and updated it for current STCC. From the current release, there's support for STCC, but I guess it needs more testing and improvements, depending on what users want, and the debugging support on target debugging isn't there yet. Okay, now the last part will be the ST-Link, that's hardware dongle, that is used. The originals are made by ST, about this big, but there's a lot of smaller, cheap Chinese codes that all of them use non-free firmware. So this is one last non-free bit that we need to deal with apart from the bootloader issue. There, however, are free alternatives emerging. ESP, ST-Link, which is a ESP hardware with some free firmware on it. That works only with STM8 Flash, but not with the debugging yet. And there's UPort 2 hardware, which has its own software, but is also only writing into flash memory, not debugging yet. Okay, so let's go to the to-do list. Now, there's still plenty to be done. I mean, SDCC needs more developers. We used to have more 2 years back, but I mean, interest in 8-bit microcontrollers has come down a bit, and so also development is not as active as it used to be. We also need to fix a few SDCC bugs and improve SDCC further. Standard compliance, yes, we're doing better than the non-free compilers, but there's still a gap towards what people expect these days, like GCC or LLVM. There's more optimizations to be done. The debug info is not perfect yet, especially when it comes to local variables. The LLVM+SDCC toolchain, as I said, is still experimental. It could offer some benefits in terms of language support and additional optimization, so there's more work to be done there. IDE integration, as I mentioned, mostly on the flip side, but also for the box needs improvement. Now, this is something I didn't mention before, the real-time operating systems. Of course, some people want, for some tasks, to use real-time operating systems on microcontrollers. And while a few real-time operating systems have been ported to SDCC, there's still some that only work with the non-free compilers, and the big systems like Riot or something, or FreeRTOS are not even available from the STM8 yet. So there one would have to make the port both to the hardware and to the software. And then of course, this firmware and bootloader thingy, ideal would be that this attack it from many sides, like for the ST-Link itself, have free firmware for that one, then get support for the free firmware alternatives that are already there, with working with different hardware in all the tools, and for the bootloader also get free replacements for the binary blocks that are used in there. Okay, so a quick summary for the current slide. We now do have a reasonably well working free toolchain for the STM8. Even though non-free tools were there years earlier, in some ways we have surpassed the non-free tools already, in particular in terms of code speed and some other aspects of the compiler. We're getting there in terms of supporting tools, IDE integration, the other small tools like STM8 Split, STM8 that are around it. But there's still a bit more to be done, especially in integration, in code size, also to catch up. Both in some aspects to catch up with the non-free tools, and in other aspects to get even further ahead. Okay, so I'd say that's it from my side. Any questions?
On one of the first slides, you said that it was a C-friendly architecture.
Yes.
Could you elaborate on that?
Well, I see, C, for example, I could repeat the question. Okay. So the question was asked, what does it mean that STM8 is a C-friendly architecture? Okay, now C tends to naturally compile well on things where you can use a stack value. Yeah? Local variables, if they don't know matches, the natural place for them is to go onto the stack, because that allows recursion. We want call and return instructions for easily function calling and returning all on the stack. Not all the 8-bit microcontrollers have that. Yeah? The Z80, for example, has call and return instructions, but you need to go via an index register, via a frame pointer if you want to access variables on the stack. And some other microcontrollers, like the MCS 51 or the 8051 variants, or the big microcontrollers don't even have a stack relative addressing mode, so it's even harder. You have to okay, get the stack value somewhere, add some offset, and then put it into an index register, and then go through there, and you need many instructions to access the variable on the stack. And for the PICs, for example, you even have a hardware stack, so not a stack pointer going into memory, but some of them have a hardware stack with limited depth, so you can't even do recursion easily. So if you're going beyond 4 levels of function calls, you have to manually move things around, then you don't have good support for the function calling the styles you wanted. While the STM8, it has this stack pointer relative addressing mode, well, only with the input offset, but for most functions that's good enough. It has the instruction there, and the stack pointer relative addressing mode, it's efficient. There are some other architectures have it, but you see that it has essentially been added on later, and the instructions, the stack pointer relative addressing mode are relatively long, but these are relatively compact instructions. So most instructions with stack pointer relative addressing are only 2 bytes. Yeah. Any further questions? Yes? Yes. Now, as I mentioned, SDCC needs more developers, and one problem is that LLVM is kind of a moving target. Yeah? So you have to put substantial development effort in if you bind yourself to the LLVM IR. And because SDCC does not have that much developer manpower at the moment, I think it's better to be more cautious and have C as an abstraction layer, because then we don't have to put too much developer effort on the SDCC side into this combination. And and SDCC still is there as a standalone C compiler, so even if we don't have, are not able to maintain this combination LLVM plus SDCC anymore, they're still there as a compiler. Any further questions? Okay, I think we would still have about 3 minutes, but if there are no questions, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. What about, so does GDB work through STM or OpenLCD, or actually is it possible to work with, what is the best way to work with GDB on STM8?
The best way to work with the compiler comes with the toolchain.
GDB.
With the debugger?
Yes. Debugger.
Okay. Now the best way at the moment is compile the stuff with SDCC with debugger output to ELF, then use GDB with OpenOCD and wireless naming to put it into the STM8, and then you can just set breakpoints and such normally. We're not that good with debug information, especially for some local variables, depending on how they've been allocated. So if you want to print the value of a local variable, it is not working as well as what you might be familiar with from other tool chains, but most of the time it tends to work in the local variables.
So OpenOCD plus STM plus
OpenOCD plus GDB with the statement on the STM8, SDCC as a compiler, and if you want some IDE on top. Okay, any further questions? What? I don't see any, so then that's it.